You're listening to They Shoot Films with Ken Mercer and FT Kosempa.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of They Shoot Films, the podcast where we talk about the movies that matter from California. My name is Ken Mercer, and I'm here as always with the great FT Kosempa, who is currently and is always in the great state of New York. FT, how are you?
I am well, Ken.
So we're here to talk about The Departed, and there's a big question about The Departed, which is The Departed a good movie? And I would say maybe, maybe not, maybe fuck yourself. Of course, that is a lift from Mark Wahlberg as Sergeant Dignan in The Departed, who asked that question of an FBI agent.
Yes, about whether it's a good movie or not. Maybe if you feed it shit and keep it in the dark, it's going to be fine.
Yes, just like FBI agents. Keep them in the dark and feed them shit. Like mushrooms. They're like mushrooms.
Yes.
Let's talk about the origins of The Departed before we dive in and try to give it a typical They Shoot Films critical yet non-critical assessment. What do you know about the origins of The Departed, FT?
Just that it is a vague remake of one or two films. Were they Hong Kong films? Infernal Affairs?
It was actually a trilogy.
A trilogy.
And I'm not sure when the rights got bought, the American rights got bought, and it turned into The Departed. I don't know if they had done all three, but clearly there was one film called Infernal Affairs, which is a Hong Kong film that I think came out in 2002, and it got turned into a trilogy. But keep going, FT. You're hot on the trail of the origins here.
Well, that's about it. Then it was. That's all I know. That was the origin of it, and I think this was back when I first saw it. When you were speaking before, wasn't Brad Pitt involved in this at one point?
Yes, but you're jumping ahead in the origin story. So it was.
Okay.
It was just a little bit ahead. So 2002. Infernal Affairs came in, and apparently it had a pretty big buzz for a foreign film. I had never seen it, and the rights actually U.S. rights actually generated somewhat of a bidding war between Plan B, the production company that was associated with Warner Brothers at that time, and the Weinstein Company. FT, do you know the partners in Plan B?
I do not.
It's Brad Pitt. Yes, it's Brad Pitt's production company. At that time, it was he was partnered with a woman named Jennifer Aniston. Are you familiar with her? FT?
Of course.
Yes,
yeah. His morning show now.
Yeah, his wife at the time was the partner in Plan B, and so they were bidding against the Weinstein Company. And they dug deep and came up with $1.75 million to buy the U.S. rights to this Hong Kong film, Infernal Affairs. And to develop it, they hired a writer, Bill Monahan, who had published a novel and then had sold a screenplay to Ridley Scott that became the movie Kingdom of Heaven. Have you ever seen that Ridley Scott film?
I have not. No, I have not.
I've not seen it either. It's not very well regarded, but apparently they came out with a director's cut, which is added 45 minutes to it, and then apparently that actually has some pretty good reviews. But I've not seen it. So Monahan kind of had a buzz in Hollywood. Monahan was from Boston, and they hired him to write the script for what became The Departed. They took it to Martin Scorsese, who signed on not knowing that it was a remake. He read the script and had no idea it was a remake when he signed on.
How about that? Interesting.
And I think when he found out that it was a remake, he was apparently not enthused. He didn't want to be known for doing remakes, and interestingly, did not watch the original film until after he had finally finished The Departed.
Oh, that's a mistake, because I would have enthused him, in my opinion, because I started watching it.
You did?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It just seems, no offense to, a bit amateurish. Although I was watching a Spanish dubbed version of a Hong Kong film, which made it really weird, But
right, because you don't like to watch films that are in English, so you saw.
I see. I'm just proving the point, And I turned the chroma off the TV to make it black and white, so maybe that messed around with shit. But it did feel amateurish, But I saw the bones of the structure there in about the first half hour. You can see it.
It's the story. So how much of it did you watch? We're talking about Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong film now.
Up until just the beginning, in a way, the first 20 minutes or so. The last thing I was seeing when he was getting out of prison, when as part of being the undercover cover story,
yes,
when he goes to prison, he was getting out of prison. And then I was just like, this is, it was kind of hard to watch, bad dub. And it just didn't look that good,
Yeah.
So in my opinion, Marty should have watched it and he would say, okay, this script deserves a better treatment,
Yeah, because I've watched The Departed many times. I've always liked it a lot, and so I was always wanting to watch Infernal Affairs. Criterion put it out as a trilogy, as a 3-disc set of all 3 of the movies. I couldn't wait to see it. I signed up for a subscription to the Criterion channel and put on Infernal Affairs. Was so excited to watch it, and I turned it off after 20 minutes. I thought it was not. We're probably going to piss off a lot of listeners here, which we can't really afford to do. We're probably going to piss off the majority of our Hong Kong audience, which unfortunately is 98% of our total audience. But we've always said on They Shoot Films that our job is to tell the truth, tell it like we see it. And I turned off Infernal Affairs and never went back to it. Just from my experience with it sounds like from your experience with it, Marty did what should happen if you remake a film. You remake it because you can make it a lot better.
Yes.
As opposed to so many remakes which make things worse.
Yes. Yeah.
Psycho 2, for example. Actually,
I like Psycho too.
Actually, as it came out of my mouth, I think that's Gus Van Sant, and I think it is supposed to be pretty good. Have you ever seen Psycho 2?
No, but now,
I think it's Gus Van Sant. By the way, did you catch the Psycho reference in The Departed?
I did not. Hit me. Where?
Yeah, this was not planned for this. So what happens is Matt Damon, who plays Cullen, goes to take a shower. He's in the apartment with Vera Farmiga, and he goes to take a shower when she gets this envelope that came from Leo, Billy, the William character, and opens it up and finds the CD and starts playing it while Leo is in the shower. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Yeah, and there's tension there because we know we can see what's going. There's a lot of tension there, and so there's tension that he's in the shower, and Marty quotes Psycho cut up to the shower head. I forget the 3 shots, but they're literally the three shots from the shower scene in Psycho.
Right. I bet the director's cut will have the CD going down the drain. It cut from his eyeball to the CD. Farmiga is how you pronounce the name, apparently. I was looking it up, and I wanted to make sure, because I was saying Familia, too. It's Farmiga. She's Ukrainian.
Oh, she is? Wow.
Yeah.
So Marty, the reason Marty claims he signed on was because it reminded him of one of his all-time favorite films. Do you know what that film is, FT?
So it's going to be, you already tipped me, an undercover film maybe.
Yes, you got it. You're hot on the trail.
An earlier film than Serpico is my guess.
Way earlier.
Way earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, who was under? All right, well, wasting valuable airtime. Which one? What?
White Heat.
Oh, Jesus, right.
Yeah,
right.
Which, remember, in
oh my God,
Cagney's in prison, and there's an undercover cop in prison who befriends him, becomes his best friend, but is actually an undercover cop. So Scorsese got excited about doing it for that reason. And then in terms of the origins of this film, it was supposed to be the long-awaited Scorsese De Niro reunion. De Niro was supposed to play the Frank Costello character that went to Nicholson.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad it was Jack. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about Jack and acting, and I'll go with that. I'm glad it's Nicholson too. And
it was fresh. In other words,
yes.
I like the idea of having a crew working on together and a history and a tradition, but it was fresh. It'd be what, De Niro's a mob boss again? Come on. I mean, but it would have worked, no doubt. Yeah. It would have worked just fine. But
yeah, and De Niro turned it down because he wanted to direct The Good Shepherd, so he turned down the role. They then went out to Pacino to play Frank Costello. Scorsese really wanted to work with Pacino, had never worked with him before.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Right.
Pacino turned it down. Nicholson, they went out to Nicholson. Nicholson turned it down, but they kept going back to him, and then there was a meeting with Bill Monahan and Scorsese and I think DiCaprio, and Nicholson signed on. But at that point, Monahan had to do a major rewrite on the script to beef up the role of Frank Costello. Originally, in the script at that point, there was only 3 scenes with Frank Costello, the Nicholson part. Yeah, so it completely got rewritten to beef up the part for Nicholson to play.
Interesting. Nice.
Marty, like some other directors, when he starts a film, he brings together the cast and crew and into a theater and screens films that he sees as influences or thinks it's important for the cast to see. FT, for $5, what were the films that Scorsese screened for cast and crew to prep for The Departed?
Should I do it like Jeopardy? What is White Heat?
No, I don't think he screened that.
Man.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why, because that was the thing that got him excited. But he did, as far as I know, he did not. I was not there, but he did not, as far as I know, screen White Heat. What films did he screen?
What is? I have no Johnny. What's that name? Donnie Brasco. What is? No, it was older stuff, no doubt.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Some Nick Ray film. I'll bet.
Nope. Good guess, okay. But no.
Hit me.
You want to give you some clues?
No. Well,
Anthony Mann.
Oh, what the hell, Anthony Mann film? I'm blanking. Go ahead.
T-Man and Raw Deal. Oh. He screened 2 Anthony Mann films. T-Man and Raw Deal. Hopefully, he did it as a double feature, as they should be. Scarface, the Howard Hawks version, not the Brian De Palma version, and Public Enemy, which was, it's strange he didn't screen White Heat, but he chose Public Enemy. The whole thing is weird to me because I don't really feel the influences of those films in the version of The Departed that we got. Do you, FT?
No, I do not. I mean, I haven't seen T-Man in a long time.
Yeah.
I recall that being pretty stiff. But I don't know. I don't see anything. I mean, A, they're all black and white films, and and B, there were studio films. No, I don't see it. But what was he after? Did he talk about this?
I don't know. But what's interesting to me is clearly what Marty saw here, and I think he's talked about it, is that he was going to be making a B movie. A real genre film, a B movie, which was great because I think it freed Marty. To just, since he saw it as a B movie, as a popcorn movie, or whatever, I think it really freed him from, and really allowed him to just tell the story, which he did a fantastic job on. It's interesting, though, because I wonder if Michael Ballhaus, the cinematographer, was asleep in those screenings, because if Marty was showing T-Man and Raw Deal, which has such striking expressionistic noir cinematography, Ballhaus did not pick up on those clues one iota in terms of the way he shot this film.
Right.
Casting progressed in some of the other characters. The part of Sergeant Dignan that went to Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Ray Liotta, again, working with Scorsese. He ended up turning it down. He had another part that he wanted to take. And FT, do you know who was originally? They originally wanted to play the part of I think Lieutenant Ellerby. I think he was a lieutenant. The part that went to Alec Baldwin. Do you know who that?
No, I do not. I don't.
They wanted Mel Gibson for that part.
Jesus! Wow.
So I got to ask you a question. I need you to take a deep breath and think, because there's a knee-jerk answer here, which is, but go deeper if you can, or go with your knee-jerk, or however you want to do it. How would Mel Gibson have been in the part of LRB, your opinion?
Great.
That was nice. Did you only do that because I told you not to go knee-jerk?
I think I really admire Mel Gibson as an actor. I do.
Right, and you're being very clear. So just to be clear here, FT, because I don't want to lose our Jewish audience, which is we're loath. You admire Mel Gibson as an actor, not
Didn't I say that?
Yeah, I think Mel Gibson would have probably been better in the role of LRB, because we'll talk about acting later. Alec Baldwin has a goofiness to him in this role that, lightens the role, but I'm not quite sure was so right. So I would have liked to see Gibson in the role, but it's funny to think about when you think about Gibson, Mel Gibson in the role. You're like, boy, Marty really dodged a bullet, because he would have had the Mel Gibson baggage, but of course now he's got the Alec Baldwin baggage.
Right. And remember, Mel Gibson did play the Beaver.
He did?
Isn't there a movie where he thinks he's a beaver? Do you know that movie?
Sorry, is this a porn film?
No. Nice try. No, like he has a hand puppet. I saw that so long ago. But anyhow, when you said goofiness, I was just like, well, okay. Anyhow.
I've never asked you about this, and it's not something I would want to ask you
on air,
right, on a podcast. But unfortunately, I've never asked about it before, and I don't want to forget to ask you about it again. What was your take on the Alec Baldwin shooting?
From what I know, all the actors are rehearsed by the gun people. That's all I'm going to say.
What is that? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means.
How to work a weapon and how to check a weapon. And, they're really careful about that on sets. Tarantino said the same thing with Bill Maher on an interview I saw.
Bill Maher
or whatever. He asked him about that. And
go ahead.
Bill
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but Tarantino says that.
Sorry, FT. Sorry. I don't mean to be a jerk off, but I'm just.
But I'm just going to be.
No. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to. Again, we try to
elevate.
Keep up with. No, go with the audience's comment. We try to take the audience's comments seriously, and please, we'll give an email address so you too can send in comments. But the constant negative comments about your enunciation. But go ahead, Bill Maher. Go ahead, go.
Go. No, I just said it. That Tarantino says that there are experts on set with handling weapons.
Yeah, armors.
Yeah. He doesn't bullshit around with that stuff, as nobody should.
Well, yeah, you can't bullshit around.
Right.
But I think the issue was the armorer. First of all, There should not be actual bullets on a set. Yes, there's blanks, but there's no reason you'd have a live bullet on a gun on an inside set like that. And so you would trust, and obviously trust is a dangerous word, as you've learned the hard way dealing with me, FT. You trust when you're handed a gun on an indoor set that it's not going to have a live actual bullet in it. That being said, I guess the textbook by the blow technique is you're supposed to check. And again, I don't know what he would have checked for, because the only thing you would check is, I think it was a revolver. You would open the cylinder and look, and you would see something in there. You would have no idea. You would assume it was a blank. So even if he opened it up, I don't know what he would have seen, unless I don't know if the shell casings on blanks that they use are like orange, clearly marked. So I think he got a bad. He was an easy mark at that time, since he had played Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, and so he had a lot of people. No, I'm being serious. I know. There are a lot of people.
Did a good job.
There are a lot of people gunning for him. No pun intended,
so to speak.
And unfortunately, a lot of the people who were gunning for him were, gun owners who then all went on the internet and said, "You always check that a gun is unloaded." And which is true.
So I took that tack.
What do you mean you took? You went right. You went with the those people.
I just ran with Quentin Tarantino. That's all. Who I didn't know was going to be. Isn't that something? You know?
But it is true. You know, I think it's just common wisdom. But a cop had told me that the most dangerous gun is an unloaded gun. And he said, Ken, you never have unloaded guns. And the reason for that is if you sometimes keep, and we're talking about, let's say, again, for a cop who carries a gun, but for a homeowner, a home defense, if sometimes you keep your guns unloaded, like, oh, well, I'm going to keep them unloaded, that's when it's dangerous, because then you could think when you pick up the gun, oh, it's unloaded when it's loaded. But if your gun is always loaded 100% of the time and you know it's always loaded, you're not going to make that mistake. But I think Alec got railroaded. Film sets are dangerous places. And I don't think people realize that. I think people look, making movies are cushy jobs.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
Especially when you're thrown out of a building and land on the street like Martin Sheen did, and he survived that. But
just in general, film sets are dangerous places. And the good news is there's so many safety procedures in place that you rarely hear about people getting their heads lopped off with helicopter blades like Vic Morrow or the cinematographer in the Alec Baldwin incident. But there were a lot of incidences, and the unions really tried when everything was being shot back in the day when everything was being shot in L.A. The unions really had to come down. One of the big dangers was accidents driving home, because shoots would run so late and crews were booked so much that people would fall asleep at the wheel driving home and driving home after night shoots. I remember once a shoot that I was on where we had explosion, we had pyrotechnics, no CGI, a big explosion. It was supposed to be a car crash explosion. And the pyrotechnic guys were rigging the explosions down this hill from where I was. I was not the director. I was a writer. I was standing with the director. We were prepping the actor. We were going over everything, getting ready for the shot, at which point there was a huge explosion. The explosives went off, not when they were supposed to. And I think that 5 seconds or 10 seconds was like the longest 5 or 10 seconds of my life when when the assistant director is on the walkie-talkie to those guys saying, "Are you okay? Are you?" And there was no answer. Nothing came back, and then finally they were like, "Yeah, we're okay." There's a lot of dangerous stuff that goes on in film sets, stunts being the most obvious example.
There you go.
Yes. Where for UFT does The Departed rank within the Scorsese canon?
Yeah, I would only say it's up there because, I don't like the ordering thing. And it was hard for me to say, well, what is the best, of everything we know. It's been well established, but it is up there because it is so well done. It moves so, smoothly. The story is delivered in such an interesting way. I would say top 5. That's the most I can say.
Okay. So here's
how's that?
Well, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here, and you answer quickly. Goodfellas versus Departed.
Goodfellas.
Casino versus Departed.
Departed.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd go Casino. I think that's a tough call. Let's go newer. Irishman versus Departed.
Departed.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Killers of the Flower Moon versus Departed.
Killers of the Departed.
Yeah, Departed.
Yeah. Well, what about getting to the?
Sorry, I skipped over the big one, and I was trying to let you off easy, but you brought it up. No. Raging Bull versus Departed.
Raging Bull only because it was black and white. And because, no, seriously, because...
and before 1934.
And because it looked like it was before, and because I couldn't understand De Niro. And De Niro's performance. But what was the movie? Didn't he do Last Emperor? Was that him?
Yes.
It's one of those forgotten films, which I don't forget.
Right. I think Marty's been a guy whose career is one for them, one for me, one for them. He does a studio film. He does one for him. So, the more personal films, Last Emperor... Silence. I've never seen Silence. Have you seen it, FT?
No, it's on my list. You know, I was
it's hard to see.
list
It does not play that much unless you go out and pay for it. So it's interesting because Marty, I think when he's accepting the Academy Award, said something about how he won for this film because it was he joked that this was the first
movie, right?
What? Go ahead, say it.
I know the quote.
Go ahead. Then do it.
It's the first movie I've done with a plot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Which sounds...
false.
Well, no, it sounds absurd, but then when you think about it, there's a lot of truth there because his big movies that you think about were all real-life stories, which being Casino, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, were all real-life stories. And as we know about real life, as much as we think our lives have a plot, they don't.
Hey, watch it, buddy. I've plotted my life from when I was 7 years old.
Right.
Age of reason, 8.
Right. From the time you were 8 years old, you were plotting to do this podcast with me.
As soon as I learned sarcasm, I started plotting my life.
As soon as you learned sarcasm, you said, I'm going to become a podcaster.
I did not say that.
Put the sarcasm to use.
Yes.
FT, trivia question for you. This is a hard one.
I'm ready. The second one.
It's not even trivia. It's just
it's a general question. What is life?
No, it's an IQ. It's an IQ test.
Oh,
question.
Okay.
Where is the Departed set? Where's the movie set? Where does it take place?
United States.
Correct, but specifically in Boston.
Not Quincy.
Right.
Not Cambridge.
Yes.
I don't think Cambridge is in it. You know.
Well, they do say Worcester at one point, and we need.
That's not even close.
So
Clark colleges.
Where does you just tried and you? By the way, I want to commend you for doing such an excellent job ranking Departed within the Scorsese pantheon, and actually going along with it instead of saying I don't rank things. That's beneath me to.
Well, I rank generally. You know, yeah.
Okay, so all right. So where do you rank Departed within the genre of Boston movies?
Number 2.
Okay, cool. What's number 1 for you?
Love Story.
Is that really? Is that Boston?
Yes.
Oh, good. And that's your favorite?
Harvard.
That's your favorite?
That's my favorite joke of the day. No. I think
love story means never having to say you're sorry, FD.
No, always having to say you're sorry.
All right. So where does Departed rank within Boston
movies? It's interesting because I found it tied.
Before you answer, should I just list some Boston movies to make sure?
No.
Why don't you list them? List them. Let's get a list before you answer. What are Boston movies?
Well, the other one with Matt Damon, when
Goodwill Hunting.
Film Symposium days.
Goodwill Hunting. Keep going.
What's the marathon movie? The Boston Marathon with
Patriot Day. With Wahlberg. You've seen that?
Wahlberg is in that. Yeah.
You've seen that?
No, it's on my list. Last week I was going to watch it. I got sidetracked.
I actually like that movie a lot. But again, when I say there's a pantheon of Boston movies.
Yes.
So Goodwill is one of them.
The Fighter.
All right, I forgot about The Fighter, the David O. Russell movie. Go ahead.
I like that one a lot because it felt like working class Boston.
Yes, keep going. Yeah. List them. List the big ones.
That's about where I am.
The Verdict.
The Verdict is Boston.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And Mystic River. The Clint film.
And so let's keep that as the pantheon. There's other ones, Gone Baby Gone and stuff, but those are the big ones. Where does Departed rank in Boston movies? Mystic River versus Departed, Frank.
Departed.
Goodwill Hunting versus The Departed.
Departed.
The Verdict versus Departed.
Tie.
Interesting. Yeah, I would take Verdict over Departed for me, but that was a good rank. See, for somebody who says they don't like ranking, you've become one of the top rankers in the U.S.
Rank. You're the most ranked person.
No, you're ranked as one of the top rank. You're ranked as one of the top rankers. Yes.
You're a canker.
One of the big issues with Boston set movies is,
let me guess,
the Boston accents.
The parking, the one-way streets.
Right, exactly. Well, no, the actors feeling like they have to throw on a Boston accent. Seth Meyers on his show did a fantastic bit where he did a trailer for a fictitious movie called Boston Accent. I hope we can put it up, Anne-Marie. I hope you can run that one down.
In a town where loyalty is king, where the line between right and wrong is blurred, and justice is anything but blind, one thing reigns supreme.
You all know me. I'm not just a cop. I'm a father, I'm a son, and above all, I'm from Boston.
Boston Accent. Critics are calling the film Boston Accent gritty, emotional, and the movie with the most Boston accents this year. Vanity Fair calls Boston Accent a tour de force of dropped R's and a brilliant showcase of the words wicked and pisser. The New York Times says, as with all movies set in Boston, I spent less time paying attention to the plot and more time thinking, that accent is good, or yikes, what's that guy doing? I kept wondering if the director ever stepped in and asked, where do you think your character is from?
I can meet you in an hour in Worcester. How about Medford? How about Dorchester? How about Gloucester? How about Taunton? Ah, my cousin Eric's from Taunton. Wicked. Wicked.
See the movie that is being hailed as chock full of aerial shots of Fenway Park. And Boston Accent would not be complete without people talking about loyalty and Southie and all that other Boston stuff.
I mean, in, Southie, loyalty's more important than a gun, Don't take my word for it, just watch The Departed. Or The Town. Black Mass. Mystic River.
Boston Accent. Probably a Ben Affleck film.
It plagues Boston set movies with actors laying on heavy Boston accents. So what I'd next like you to do, Frank, now that you're on a roll of ranking, is rank the various Boston accents used by the actors in The Departed. Go.
I need some ticking. Tick,
I'll just give you some.
Ready?
I'll give you
All
some.
right, ready? Wahlberg won because he's from Boston.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Wahlberg is from Boston.
And it's mild.
Well, it's not really.
Milder.
He kind of, since he moved to L.A., his accent has faded. He laid it back on, but obviously he's from Boston, so it's kind of rekindling his Boston accent. But he was good with his Boston accent. I'll just give you the characters, and you can respond. Matt Damon.
Yes.
He's from Boston.
He's from Boston.
So
right.
It was natural for him.
Yes.
Here's where it gets a little tougher. Leo.
I thought Leo was okay.
He was great because he's not from Boston, and they all work with dialect coaches, and I would think Leo probably had one of the best ones. He felt Boston. He felt like he could be in Boston, but it didn't. It was not like an actor doing a Boston accent.
Well, there's a story element there too, isn't there? I mean,
I don't know.
Is there? Well, when he's being interviewed at the beginning,
right?
Yes. There's all the talk about, on weekends you were Southie, and the rest of the time you were like suburb, which I didn't really catch.
His parents. There had been some separations with his parents, and he lived with his mother, who I guess got remarried, who lived on the North Shore, hoity-toity. Right. But he was with his father, who was a Southie guy, connected, so yes.
I think even Wahlberg even says, so you put it on and put it off.
Right. Yes.
Which was interesting, which also kind of would cover whatever, but I thought Leo was great, but that helped, to have that cover.
Yes.
Plot cover, story cover. Yeah.
Yes. Nicholson.
Jack is Jack.
Yeah, no,
he was all right. He was all right.
No, but he did not try to do, and it's just like Paul Newman in The Verdict. He didn't. For some reason, if you feel like, I got to try hard, I got to win an Academy Award, you do the fucking Boston accent. But when you're Jack or Newman, you're like, okay, I'm a guy. You don't feel like you have to lay it on. Which brings us to one Vera. Say her last name, please.
Farmiga.
Yeah, Vera Farmiga. What did you think of her accent?
Mild. You didn't like it?
No, I thought it was too overt. I think it was too obvious that she felt like a Ukrainian woman doing a Boston accent. No,
which is what she was.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I felt her as working, which is the bad thing with Boston accents.
The truth is, not everybody from Boston talks that way.
Right. Well, I'm glad.
I mean, the North Shore people. I mean, and you're right. She should not have. That was Marty's choice, though. I mean, Marty went with it. And right. But Baldwin was not you could tell Baldwin was a New Yorker probably. He didn't Boston it up, He was FBI,
He
wasn't he?
did a little bit, but Boston and New York, that kind of Long Island accent he has, or wherever he's from, kind of is a little bit like Boston. But you brought up an excellent point, which is, as I said in a previous podcast, I went to college in Massachusetts, and so went to a lot of, day trips to Boston, and I was from New Jersey. I didn't, it wasn't like I was saying, oh, listen to these accents. Again, it didn't really seem like a big deal to me. And I know you can parody Boston accents with Ka and Departed and stuff like that, but I really didn't notice it as much in real life as people seem to think you've got to do it if you're acting in a Boston movie.
Particularly if you're a Southie, I always had the feeling that it was more like on the coast also. It was something that on Cape Cod, more of the fishing. And sometimes when I hear Irish fellows and some women off the boat, so to speak, I hear a little bit of that coming out of the Irish, the and all that. But
right.
Anyhow, yeah.
Yes. So the Departed is part of a subgenre, the undercover cop subgenre. Your thoughts about that subgenre, FT? And I'm not going to ask you to rank it because you're probably exhausted today from so much ranking
actually,
already.
it sharpened my, it was Flintstone for my, I'm ready to rank everything. I'm ready to rank what I'm even going to say as being among the top 5 things I'm going to say in the next 5 minutes. They make me anxious usually.
I think that's. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you, but you hit the nail on the head as you often do.
I was thinking about this, as you know, much to your dismay. I don't think suspense, Alfred Hitchcock, Al. I don't think suspense is the be all and end all of telling a interesting story. I think it's interesting, but this is all suspense because the whole point is the audience already knows, the viewer already knows the key thing. Now, what oddly with this film is that for some reason having 2 people doubling it up, double plus, it sort of neutralized the anxiety for me.
Interesting.
It was odd that, I was thinking about this. We were talking. I'm like, why wasn't I feeling super crazy? And, but what was interesting about just the story in this particular case, it gets diluted with surprise, or it gets added to surprise.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Because there's that key point where Jack, tells, what's his name, Matt Damon, well, it's revealed in the porn theater that there's another undercover person.
Right.
And so it's interesting that we know there's 2, and now we don't know. Now we're in the shoes of Matt Damon. We don't know who the other undercover is. So it sort of diluted all that anxiety for me a little bit, because me, I hate hostage films, and I would say, undercover films, like Serpico, I don't think I could watch it again.
Really?
Or I could. I guess I could, but it would just to watch Young Al. I mean, but
right.
Yeah. So that's my take. What about you, buddy?
And it was a grand. It was a grand take because that's what I wanted to get to is the undercut. It's such a ripe subgenre for tension and suspense, and it's interesting. Sidney Lumet went to that well twice. You named one film that was an undercover cop film, Serpico. What was Lumet's other? And maybe he did more, but I know he did a second undercover cop film. Name it, FT.
I don't know. He didn't do Prince of the City, did he?
Yes, he did. You got it. Frank, you're on fire today, buddy. Yeah, so Prince of the City, but interesting. And I just had rewatched Prince of the City a couple months ago. I'd been dying to see it. I didn't love it, although I liked it. But Lumet, and I think I remember Serpico having a lot of suspense, but I haven't watched it in quite a while. He went a different way with Prince of the City. He did not use, I think it's all told from Treat Williams' point of view pretty much. So he didn't dial up the suspense, even though the situations are full of suspense naturally. It became more of a character study about Treat Williams' character, which was, I think.
And the gang. Right, his original,
Yes.
Well, you were the one that mentioned Prince in the City those many months ago, and that's what occurred to me, when you came up with this the subgenre, talking about the parallels with Serpico and the differences. I forgot it was both Sidney Lumet. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch Serpico again, but there's this suspense. I mean, FT, I know you've had a lot of varied career before finding what you were always meant to be, which was a podcaster. Would you have ever been an undercover cop?
Well, see, the answer as an undercover person in the podcast is, not to answer that.
I understand that, but why?
No.
Why?
Just the anxiety, the tension
Yeah,
of being
no,
caught. It takes a special, on the other hand, whenever you're in a situation where you're holding what you really feel, we've all been in that, work situations particularly, where you are family, emotional
podcast situations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's things that, you sometimes want to say and you can't say it. And so that it gives you a touch of being undercover, but it's deception, and it's dishonesty and lying, which is, brings us to the point, one of the points of this whole film.
Right.
The
but
thematic,
there's
things,
there's that which has its issues, but then there's the constant tension that if you say the wrong thing, or even if you don't say the wrong thing, even if somebody inside the department gives up the information, you're fucking dead. And if you're dead, you're going to be you're dealing with with people who murder and do those kinds of things and will murder you to save their ass
and the rest of their bodies.
The real life tension and
yes,
yeah, it's in researching my novels, got to know a lot of cops and corrections officers and stuff, but for obvious reasons, didn't get to sit down with undercover agents, but had read, there's a couple, I think Mark, the guy who wrote the book of Black Hawk Down, if I'm not mixing him up, wrote an excellent book about a undercover agent. And it's when you read about it, it is just so nerve-wracking and hard to imagine who would do this. And of course, what's great about this screenplay, the idea that you're so far undercover that only and they've destroyed your identity, and so the only way you can be proved that you're actually a cop and we're undercover is these lays with these two guys. And if somebody deletes your record, as Matt Damon's character does in the movie, there's no way out of this undercover hole. It's
yeah, you're right. There's no way out of it. You know what's interesting about that though? Wahlberg hints at that, prophesizes that early on. Did you catch that?
Yes.
When when Leo was having doubts and he's there with Martin Sheen and he goes, look the only thing between us, we can just wipe you away.
Right.
You can wipe your identity away.
Yes.
And all you'd be doing is going to jail for like 15 murders and whatever,
Yeah.
Which I found to be interesting. I was like, wow, isn't that, because I forgot. I go, isn't that what happens?
Right.
And then I was like, then the movie moves on. Yeah. But you know what? There has to be, obviously, there's some people are real thrill seekers. And the trivial example was some people love roller coasters. I can't stand them. I mean? And just the thought freaks me out. I think some people really get off on it.
I only
else would they do it?
I only like roller coasters if I've eaten something that doesn't agree with me.
Right.
And I need to get it out of my system.
Couple Nathan's chili dogs, 3 of them, and a corn dog on top of it.
Actually, that brings up a good idea because I think the Nathan's hot dog eating contest has become bigger and bigger as it now it's it's covered by ESPN now and they paid a lot, so it gets a lot of viewership. But I think FT, you're a genius. I think it would be so much better if it's actually more of a biathlon kind of thing where it's hot dog eating contest. And then onto the roller coaster and see who doesn't throw. If you throw up, then you lose.
True, but even the best, the coup de grace, it would be you put a platter of hot dogs on each car of the roller coaster, and they eat them while the roller coaster is going. And so, A, if you throw up, you're disqualified, and B, whoever eats them all. Then you keep going to somebody throw. If it's a tie, you just keep going to somebody.
You forgot the officials throwing the flags if you drop a hot dog. What do you think of the script of The Departed?
It's a great script. And with any film, period, I got to figure out, or you got to distinguish between what is the script and what did Marty do.
Actually, you can break it down from a metaphysical basis. You can really break it down to what is the script
and what is life.
What is not the script. Keep going, FT. Sorry.
I don't know. You know, you have something more to say. I mean, say what you got.
I feel bad because part of some of the audience mail is
they're leaving.
The audience feels like the audience feels like every time you're about to say something completely brilliant, I interrupt you with a joke. And they feel like that in terms of your people's ranking your brilliance level, it's hurting your ranking on the brilliance scale. I think the script it's a fantastic script on a couple of levels. The first one is I think you'd have to agree with me. It's a very complex tale.
Yes,
it's a complex yarn, as we say in the business.
Yes,
yet. It's structured in a way where even after the first time seeing it, I didn't feel like, oh, what was I feel like you get everything. Every loop is closed. Everything's set up. It's clear as a bell. Would you agree with that?
I do. You're right. Considering the plot difficulties, yes, I was not confused.
Yeah, which is no small feat. And again, credit to the director, to Marty Scorsese, and the editor, Thelma Schoonmaker.
Yes.
But I happened to be on Google, and I'm going to tell you, because I printed it out, so I'm going to tell it like it is. What I was Googling, okay, here's what's in the search field on Google. I printed out the page. I Googled The Departed James Joyce. Not a bad thing to ask. Right.
Yeah.
But then I got the people also ask thing on Google.
I love that.
You're familiar with that?
So of course.
Where people also ask. So again, that's what I Googled. And again, what we're talking about is I said the script is clear as a bell. You can't walk. You get it all. Yet people also ask, who was the mole in The Departed? I'm not kidding.
Maybe they thought it was an animal. Right. I mean, who was the rabbit in Rabbit Run?
So people also ask, who is the mole in The Departed? They also ask, who was the little boy in the beginning of The Departed?
Stephen Dedalus.
People also ask, who was the guy at the end of The Departed? I'm not kidding.
Shit.
Yeah. I mean, this.
Jesus.
And you wonder why, you watch a lot you see the movies the studios put out and you say, why do they make such dumb movies? Well, they ask Google. They probably have departments or actually they make the films, then run it through Google and say, well, people didn't know who the mole was. People didn't know who the boy. I mean, it's just incredible.
That is incredible.
So he told a complex story and made it crystal clear. I think he also, you already talked about it. He used suspense with letting the audience get ahead of things. He uses surprise. The structure is great. The dialogue is fantastic. It was interesting because we're about to get to the part of the podcast where we each pick our favorite film from the movie. Oh, sorry. we each pick our favorite line from the movie. What's interesting was I thought, man, this is going to be tough. There's going to be so many great lines. Oh. It's interesting. There's so much great dialogue, but there aren't like these jump out lines, which I think is what makes a great, because I feel like screenplays when there's like these incredible one-liners, they're fake. You feel just like the Boston accents, you feel the screenwriter laboring. Whereas there's so much great dialogue,
right?
But not necessarily these great lines. But nevertheless,
the Henny Youngmans. Yeah. Nevertheless, yes,
it's the part of our podcast where we each name our favorite line from the film. So I'm going to ask you to go first, Frank. What was your favorite line from The Departed? And sorry, I'm moving paper as I pull out my favorite line.
Yeah, me too. I'm like moving around here. I'm going below. My favorite line, since we already hinted at one, I'm going to pass that one about the mushrooms. I'm going to say what got me laughing was when Matt Damon early on says to the other cop who was in the same class, do you have a suit at home or do you like coming to work just like somebody ready to invade Poland? Because he had the the strap. Yes. It's like this. My father used to call the Pennsylvania State Police the Gestapo because of that strap and the belt. you know, and it was weird, you know, especially the darker suits, you know, when they changed into the lighter suits. But it always struck with me. And when I saw that, I laughed and laughed. Yeah. Anyhow, somebody ready to invade Poland.
I've never said this to you before, and I don't want it to go to your head, but I love doing this podcast with you, FT. Because
I always pick the worst lines.
Right. we do best lines. I'm like, oh, man, I picked this one, but FT's going to pick it first. And you never do. Okay, so that leaves it wide open for the classic from Frank Costello as played by Jack Nicholson. When you decide to be something, you can be it. That's what they don't tell you in the church. When I was your age, they would say we can become cops or criminals. Today, what I'm saying to you is this. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
There you go.
Yeah. I have a question for you, if I may.
I'm ready.
So in the movie, obviously, Matt Damon gets into a romance with the Vera Farmiga character. It is communicated subtextually, or actually textually, that he is impotent. And then Billy Costigan, who's Vera Farmiga's patient, gets into a romance with Vera Farmiga, which brings us to what the geometrists call a love triangle.
The love geometrists call a triangle.
Yes. My question for you is the romance between, which is convenient, this love triangle, which adds to the tension of the whole thing and to the symmetry and the structure, is it believable that Vera Farmiga falls for the Leo character?
I think it's motivated. My question
is it only motivated by the fact that he happens to have a working dick? And Matt Damon doesn't. Otherwise, I don't know why she really sleeps with him.
Interesting. My question would be the opposite of, was it motivated that she would ever be with Matt Damon?
That's a good one, FT, right?
Yeah, because, you know, compare the two first meetings. You know, one was all that witty banter of Matt Damon. His character is revealed as a slick guy.
You making a house call?
Have I seen you professionally?
No. I know who you are, though. I know. Guys got to use their service revolver in the course of duty, and then they get to come to talk to you about their feelings and whatnot. No, I know how it goes. You're a mental health professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have an appointment on this floor.
Oh, well, you'll have fun. They're all freaking crazy on that floor. I'm one more up.
Oh, fancy policeman.
Yeah, that's right, fancy.
Are you a statey?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually going to law school also.
Suffolk nights?
Well, yeah, they don't run Harvard at night, last time I checked.
When's the last time you checked?
Before I went to fucking Suffolk.
Okay, listen, I went to UMass. I wasn't insulting you.
Well, I thought you were, so now you gotta buy me dinner.
Well, maybe you can shoot someone and then you'd have to see me professionally.
I'll stab someone in the heart with a fucking ice pick if it gets me dinner with you.
Come on.
No, that's all right. I'm a detective. I'll find you. No, sir, I'm just joking. I need the guy.
Funny stuff, too. You know, I'll shoot somebody if I have to see you the next time.
Right.
But compare the first meeting with Leo.
Right.
Stuff about honesty and lying comes up.
Yes.
Do you lie?
Why? Do you?
No, I'm asking if you lie.
Honesty is not synonymous with truth.
Yeah, you lie. You lie. Is it to do some good, to get somewhere personally, or what, just for the fuck of it?
Well, I expect that some people do it to keep things on an even keel.
Wow. So you had a parent who was a drunk?
Did you?
No.
Let's keep it with you. Talk about how you feel.
How I feel.
So there's a sincerity about Leo that I completely believe. And she, being torn, you know, being a therapist, you know, she has obviously, you know, fun feelings for, you know, she likes the slick, nice penthouse, by the way, overlooking the Capitol, you know, and all that. But she's drawn more, I think, emotionally to Leo. He's more sincere. He's more vulnerable. She says that.
Right. FT, let's move along. Now that you're hopefully recharged for another ranking, I'd like let's get into our favorite scenes. We're each going to pick our favorite scene from The Departed, and as always, I will ask you to go first. What's your favorite scene from The Departed?
This is a hard one. Favorite scene.
Just quit your moaning.
No, I can moan if I want to. I don't want no government or you telling me whether I can
What's
moan.
your favorite scene?
You know, it's strange, all right, because I really went back and forth. There's a lot of them. But what struck me was what I'm going to call the 314 Wash Street scene.
Okay.
And that it's my favorite because it puzzled me. I thought it was a weak part of the script, why Matt Damon goes, I'm going to follow Martin Sheen, the captain.
Right.
Right? But I'm watching this and I'm going, wait a second. Martin Sheen all along was saying, if you want to find who the spy is, follow Jack, follow Costello, because they eventually have to meet. So, this is going on in my head about this is unbelievable. Even the other cops that are following him going like, what the hell? What are we following the captain for? But it ends up being the case that they will eventually meet up. Anyhow, it's an incredible scene. It's shocking. For a couple reasons, because, of course, then Matt Damon's able to alert the gang, the mob, and they get there. And it's the first case where you have a real shootout. You also have a case where Matt Damon exposes himself when he goes, do not pursue, and his guys disobey orders. So things are starting to unravel here. And, of course, there's a hideous shock of Martin Sheen being thrown out of the building and landing with a splat right in front.
Yes.
Now, why do I call this the 314 when obviously spray painted on the plywood was 344 Wash Street? Because we then find we then find out that he was Leo was purposely given the wrong address.
Yes.
And why did he show up at 344? So he got exposed as being the rat.
Yes.
But it was from a dying man.
Yes.
So everything's unraveling here. And who would ever throw, the cat? That's like throwing Costello off of a building.
Yes. All right. So you did your favorite scene. So I guess it's time for my favorite scene.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's already time for that.
It's already time. All right, go ahead.
My favorite scene, and it's tough to pick because, again, being this film, just like when you look at for the best line, you see that there isn't really there's a lot of good lines, there's a lot of dialogue, but not this, standout thing, which is great because it makes it play more like realistic than taking it out of you, saying, wow, what a great script. There's also just so many, every scene is really, really good, but there's no great ones. But I will pick the final scene where Matt Damon comes home to find Mark Wahlberg, Sergeant Dignan, waiting for him in his apartment with the booties on his feet and a gun in his hand. You might want to ask me why that's my favorite scene.
Oh, I know why.
Why?
The metaphor.
No, don't go there now.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. We'll get there. I know what you're going to say. I've already heard it from you. But seriously, you might want to ask me why is it my favorite scene.
Why is it your favorite scene?
I'm glad you asked.
I forgot.
No, a couple of reasons. Endings are hard.
Yes,
they're the hardest thing
That's what I was thinking. Yes,
in fiction, in film. So it's the hardest thing, yet it's the most important thing in that how many great films are there that are going on, and then the ending doesn't pay off. It really takes down the whole movie. The famous example for me is Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, which is so fantastic. And then the resolution is, raining frogs. But there's countless examples where films, going along, and they just can't stick the landing.
Yes.
This film sticks the landing in such a big way. And it's so fantastic because it's a satisfying ending. These up to that last scene, we and the pacing of the film, and again, hats off to Thelma Schoonmaker as editor as well as the screenwriter. The pacing is, we think, it's already been wrapped up, you know.
Right, he's the hero. That's right.
And Matt Damon's going to get away. And we feel like he's already gotten his measure of payback because he goes up to Vera Farmiga at the funeral and she won't talk to him. And so as the audience, we think that's the wrap up and we're like, okay, he's getting a little bit of what's coming to him, but fuck, he's getting away with all this shit and we don't like that.
Yes.
And then what's so great about that scene with Wahlberg showing up, the surprise.
Yes. I was going to say that, yes.
And it's such a tightrope and so well constructed in that, A, it's a surprise because we've kind of forgotten about Dignan, Mark Wahlberg's character, because he's gone away. He's been out of the film for so long.
Yep.
Yet, in terms of the construction and in terms of Wahlberg's performances, he's unforgettable. Because his performance, we'll get to, is so over the top. It's like you can't forget it. If Wahlberg hadn't played his performance so much to stick in your mind, you probably would have forgotten. But when he shows up, you're like, oh, it's fucking Dignan. Even though he hasn't been in the film for so long, you totally recognize him. You're like, and the loop gets closed.
It does.
And it gets closed with this fantastic bookend, which is because the film starts out with the scene of young Matt Damon in that grocery store as a young boy, Frank Costello, Jack Nicholson coming in, and Nicholson buys the young boy groceries, loaf of bread and milk, and it's in a paper sack. And then when the older Matt Damon character gets shot by Dignan, he falls on the floor. He's carrying a sack of groceries with a loaf of bread and milk in it. Yeah.
Good one. I didn't connect that. Yeah, that was, he's unforgettable because he's unforgetting. I mean, and they set him up so well. I mean, he's such an obnoxious fuck, but, he's serious, and he's not going to forget. He's not going to forget,
Yeah.
So what almost ruins that, the other important thing is that it's not noir then, because when I first saw it, I was going, oh my God, he's going to get away with it because he betrayed, Costello. Because he does. He realizes when he finds out that Costello was an FBI informant, right?
Right.
That he's on the line, possibly. And then he finds out there's another informant in the police, so he's not alone. He's not the golden boy. This is all said in that warehouse scene, but, you get that going on here, And so he gets away with it, and he's going to be able to get away with it because he changed his stand. He becomes a good, quote-unquote, cop, right? But not to Dingham, you know what I mean? A Dingham, not to him. And so it's just too bad that, they had to do that stupid metaphor at the end. Are we going to ruin it for people or what?
Well, sorry, people should hopefully know that these podcasts are full of spoilers. So
yeah, that's true.
We've already ruined the movie. We already talked about the end. So you might as well go ahead. What bothered you about my favorite scene, FT? Why don't you go ahead and shit all over my favorite scene? Why don't you?
No, I'm not going to shit all over because he did. There's a tilt up to the shot we've seen all along from this magnificent penthouse of the railing beyond which is the gold dome of the Capitol building. And a rat walks across the railing. And it's so funny because, my one of my other favorite scenes was the bar scene where Jack Nicholson goes berserk off the, he goes full wacky Jack.
Yes.
And he does that imitation of a rat.
Yeah, yes.
With the buck teeth and all that,
Yes.
It's just, I'm like, come on, Marty. And you go like, well, he wanted to do it as a laugh, I guess. I mean, he's such a sophisticated filmmaker in this thing. Why the hell else would you do it? You know what his probably answer was? Because I could.
Well, no. The answer, my friend, is blowing in Reddit. When you want answers, you go to Reddit. And sorry if it wasn't clear because Frank jumped to a bar scene there. What he's trying to say is that rat out the window just It's so stupid. But a Redditor who I will leave unidentified here spoke to the significance of that rat in the film. And he said, the rat symbolizes obviousness.
I wonder, hey, in movies that he was watching, Obviously. You know, in the movies that he did have everybody watch, I wonder if there's like a rat thing.
Oh, that could be.
And like Scarface or something like that, you know, like you dirty rat.
You're right. It's it's just bad because of its obviousness, and B, it's bad because it's it's a special effects. It was done in CGI, and it's so you look at it. There's like a fucking halo around the whole rat's body. It's so bad. The rat symbolizes obviousness.
Obviousness.
And sorry,
Obviously.
And sorry, I realized I did not give credit where credit was due. When we opened the show with me saying, "Is The Departed a good movie?" Yes, maybe go fuck yourself or whatever. I also lifted that from Reddit. I get most of my good material from Reddit.
Reddit's something else.
I want to acknowledge that. Why don't we move on, FT, unless you're not ready to talk about the acting in The Departed?
Let's go ahead. I am ready.
Okay, so this film, there's a lot of actors to talk about. Obviously, we've got twin leads. We've got dueling leads really three leads. Even though Jack was supporting, but
he's in it a lot, man. Yeah,
right. But really, it's dueling leads of Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon. FT, who wins for you?
Leo.
Any reason why?
Yeah, because I think he plays a part that is not as. It's more difficult. There's more nuance to it.
Yes.
You know, Matt Damon is playing. What struck me? It was odd. If I can just speak about this, I'm watching at one point early on Matt Damon. I'm going, did he just take a Denzel Washington pill? I never noticed. Like, I really felt there was like a similarity in a way. You know. Anyhow, but he was playing a.
Well, I got a question for a couple of questions. Is there such a thing?
As a Denzel Washington pill?
Yes.
I don't know. We got to ask Vera Farmiga. You
right.
know, no, but you know what I'm saying. It
maybe there will be now, since they're not going to really be doing such extensive testing on drugs before they're FDA approved. But what do you mean? What part did you feel like Matt Damon was reminding you of Denzel Washington?
The way they respond and tell jokes and the way he was responding at the beginning, particularly in the scene where there's that. It's a style. I really try to put my finger on it, but I was just like, it struck me as that, I could almost interchange the two sometimes. I could see Denzel playing and delivering in a similar way.
No, I get the same. It's hard to understand what you're saying, but I totally get that. No, because a lot of times when I watch, I'm watching The Studio now and watch. A lot of times Seth Rogen reminds me of Christopher Plummer. Sorry.
You suck.
No,
it's also, if we're gonna go, all right, because I have another a lookalike coming up, but
act alike. You mean act alike?
Well, more like a lookalike, but
okay. I'm with you. I think Leo. They're both terrific. I think Leo pulls ahead. There's obviously a great affinity between Marty and Leo. I think this was the first film that Leo did with Marty. Yeah, and obviously since then they've been going. They keep working together, which has been great for Marty because Leo's star power gets Marty's movies made.
Exactly.
Let's jump to what may be the third lead, but I think we have to call supporting, which is one Mr. Jack Nicholson. Your thoughts on his performance, FT?
Late period Jack, up and down. There. I mean, I believe him. He's a character, a unique type. But then there's that over the top lunacy, which you go, well, that's part of the character. It feels a little bit like he got a little shining-y on me.
Okay,
Jack Kennedy. You know what I mean? This is where he's starting to get a little over the top with his overdoing it. Not staying within some emotional basis. I felt like he was caricaturing. The Shining is what struck me there. It's like I was waiting for him, to say, where is Johnny? I mean, when he comes up with all the blood on his hands.
Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
The
Shining wasn't. You said, "Where's Johnny?" It wasn't like where's Waldo?
Yes, it was. When the version I saw.
People also ask, where was Johnny in The Shining?
With Ed McMahon.
I don't know what's going on these days, FT, but when they cast us in this podcast, we were supposed to be opposites, and I don't know. We're on the same page so much today because
it's terrible.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I feel like Jack in multiple parts started chewing the scenery.
You're right. That's your term. Yeah.
Well, it's not just my term. It's a term of art there. And it's amazing that you brought up The Shining because I was going to bring it up because I think the issue, you could say it's an issue with Jack, and you'd be right in saying that, but it's the director's job to either communicate to the actor, hey, pull it back a little, or simply let the actor do it, and in editing select a take that he's not going so far. But for some reason, Marty and I guess Thelma Schoonmaker seems to really get a kick out of actor. He does it with Pacino in The Irishman. There's so many scenes where Pacino goes off the rails, and I guess that's what Marty wants to see. But it's interesting, Jack Nicholson in The Shining, which you brought up, where he is literally insane, losing his mind. I feel like Kubrick keeps him in the channel a lot more than Nicholson in this movie.
It's odd because on the other hand, he's playing a part where he's not so over the top. I mean, there are many scenes where he's not over the top at all. I mean, the scene in the restaurant with the nuns and the two priests, which is an interesting, great little scene where, he had a sexual relationship with a nun. Is that right? Isn't that implied? Doesn't he say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you saw the drawing he dropped on the table, right?
Right. In the bar scene. Yeah, with the rats attacking the Capitol building.
No, he drops a picture on the table with the priest. You saw the picture, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, right. What was it? What was the picture?
I forget. I was more concerned with...
It's the nun with tits. It's a topless nun. It's the nun topless.
It's a topless nun.
Yes. Which was the original title for the Sally Field show. The Topless Nun.
I thought you said this movie, The Topless Nun.
Remember the Flying Nun, the whole thing, in the
opening credits?
Was she had that weird hat with the wings. Yes. Well, in the original, her breasts would flap around in the wind and propel her skyward.
In the pilot, you mean?
Yes. It didn't test well.
The Protestants loved it. That's what my mother would have said. Yes.
On the other hand, nevertheless, there are some scenes where Jack puts on a masterclass for aspiring actors, and I would use it as exhibit the very first scene between Leonardo and Jack, where we start out with, and I know it's always bad to kind of narrate these scenes on the podcast, but I need to point it out to everyone who wants to watch it. Leo is sitting alone at a bar, and Jack comes in, and he sits down next to Leo. So he sits down. Before he speaks, he takes like 30 million beats. It's unbelievable how many beats he takes before he opens his mouth. And if you watch him, he's doing all this incredible internal work before he says, "You know who I am?" And it's a fucking masterclass.
Yeah, well, they both are, because Leo's great. Leo just looks in like no,
Yeah, and it's
it is. You're right.
What are we doing here, guys? Okay, you come and sit down next to Leo. Another director, another actor. Hey, you sit down next to Leo and you do your line. That's not what's happening there. It's all about them sitting down, and before he says his first line, and it's fantastic.
Right.
It's fantastic.
It's a good scene too, because Leo's already met Frenchie. You know what I mean, and he doesn't notice anything. Yeah.
Arnold, as he is formerly known. Seriously, that's his real name, Arnold.
To his non-friends.
Right. Best female actor, who would you give it to?
Jeez, I don't know. Who would you give it to?
Well,
I like her, by the way, in this, and I've always liked her work.
Let's get to it in a second, but it's interesting. This is this is a male. I went through. It's her. There's no other women in this film. It's a male film, which.
There's the one guy's mother, and early on,
right. But really, it's all men.
Right. Yes,
it's a man's film, which makes it like my wife hates films with that are mostly men. Actually, my wife hates men. She used to love men before she married me, and now she despises them. I don't know what's going on. So what do we think of Vera?
I don't know what's going on because, jeez, she must be nuts.
What do we think of the performance of Vera Farmiga?
I like it. I like the vulnerability of her, and there's a wisdom to it. There's I keep talking about intention, not popping out. Jack does pop out. We were talking about to be a madman. She doesn't. I mean, she's. There's a scene in bed after she's already had sex with Leo, where she's with Matt Damon. You remember that scene where he is talking about maybe we'll move to another city.
Right.
It is so controlled what she's doing. You see that she's going, I'm getting the picture here that he's in trouble. That he's really in trouble, and I'm never going to find out. And just the exchanges, the witty exchanges with Matt Damon early in the elevator, and the serious business with Leo, and all the Leo scenes are really good. What'd you think?
I'm with you. I don't know what's happened to her. She was a big rising star. I have not seen her lately. Have you, FT?
No, I haven't. Not lately.
There could be a line in The Shining. Where's Vera?
But she's been working. I did look her up. She has been working. But nothing. What struck me about just one thing. I was talking about before about the Denzel. Chinatown being last week.
Wait, are you going to talk about?
No. I'm talking about Vera Farmiga. I'm talking about her.
Keep going.
When I first saw her, when she first appears in that, I believe the elevator scene, straight on, I'm going like, oh my God, Faye Dunaway's sister. I never noticed a resemblance. It's family resemblance.
It's not Faye Dunaway's. You said Faye Dunaway's sister? It's not Faye Dunaway's sister.
Don't say it. Please don't say it.
Daughter.
Don't say
it. But speaking of the way Vera Farmiga looks, I think she has the right. I buy her look and the way she, the way wardrobe is on her. I buy her as a psychiatrist.
Yes.
I just wish I had been able to work with her as a dialect coach because, again, she would have been so much better with less accent.
And you're so much better of a dialect coach than.
Oh, I am. Wait. Why are you mocking me?
I'm not mocking you. I was being sarcastic. I mean, why don't you coach my dialoguing?
Sorry. That's what's going to happen right now. Okay. All right. So, why don't we just do Boston with you? So I want you to say, hold on, Ken, I need to go park the car. Go ahead.
Hold on, Ken, I need to go park the car.
Perfect. Boom. I did it again.
You did a great job.
I did it again. That was excellent. That's all.
Thank you.
That's all you need. But she would have done.
This is the favorite part now. Great audience. Ready? This is Ken now doing how she would have done it.
Okay.
Go.
Well, you got to set it up. I'll set it up myself.
Yeah.
They Shoot Films now presents Ken Mercer as Vera Farmiga as the psychiatrist whose name I forget in The Departed.
Madeline. Yes.
Hold on. I can't do it. Hold on.
I gotta go get the car.
No, sorry. I got to do. I'll do Via Familiar as
Marlon
character
Brando.
in Ibsen's. as a character in Ibsen's Peer Gynt. Sven, let's go swimming in the fjord.
In the car. Let's go.
Okay, let's move on. Supporting actor. Stop fucking around, FT.
Oh, I'm sorry. Supporting actor. There weren't any.
Yes, there's so many. Let's start with Marky. Let's start with Marky Mark Wahlberg.
Yes, excellent. Number 1. Alec Baldwin, number 2.
Well, no, Martin
Sheen, number 3.
let's stay with Wahlberg.
No.
So much of this film, the actors improvised, and I think that's what went on with Jack. Is he was doing so much improvising, and that is what happens to directors when you have actors improvising on the set. You're there on the set, you see them improvise, you've got the whole crew cracking up, and you remember that in the editing room. And it might not really belong in the film, but you've got all these memories of this great improvisation. And I think that's what happened with Jack, and where he went too far was the improvisation. He kept wanting to surprise Leo and Matt Damon. So like that dildo in the porn theater, that was Jack's idea. He just brought it and
interesting.
And whipped it out. In the cheese eating scene, he broke out the gun. Leo didn't know the gun was going to come out. He lit the paper on the drawing on fire.
Nice.
Leo didn't know that.
But I thought that all worked, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, but so with Mark Wahlberg, he was improvising, and he was going to, his character became somewhat unbelievable than anybody could. He was supposed to be a dick, right? But could anybody be that much of a dick? Don't answer, Frank.
The audience here is 1-800. Press 1 for dick. Yes. Really, you really felt that, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Not only I felt that way, but apparently Jack either said directly to Wahlberg, and then that didn't work. Said, "Hey, dial it back, sonny boy." And when that didn't work, he went to Marty, and Marty and Jack had to say, "Mark, too much."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I thought Martin Sheen covered it with him. He's always.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well, he did, but again, we saw what was there. But apparently, what we didn't see, he was taking it even farther.
Huh? Didn't bug me at all. I totally took it.
Well, you're used to me. You're used to me.
Well, I mean, I've known people like that. They just can't stop. They can't dial it back at all. It's going to be one thing after the next, scumbag this, you fuckhead that, and, and all that. It's just like, he's totally believable to me. I like this, I liked it. Plus, he was funny,
Right.
Anyhow, yeah.
You mentioned Martin Sheen. What'd you think?
What was the character in West Wing?
Right, the president.
President, yeah. He's another one. He's, the Kurt Russell argument that I've been giving all along. He's Martin Sheen. He's a guy that looks like Martin Sheen. Hey, that captain, he looks like Martin Sheen.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that shortchanges his abilities. I mean,
no, he's good. I mean, he's that.
But you become a victim of your success. Let me ask you a question of FT. Okay,
having been a victim of my success.
Yes. When he was in Apocalypse Now, when he wasn't a Martin Sheen type, what did you think of his performance?
It was fresh and new, and I'd never seen him before. That's correct. And it was yes. All right.
He's a good actor.
He's a good actor. Yes.
And so yes, he was cast for looking the part, for being Martin Sheen, for bringing that humanity from The West Wing, which is so important, I think, in this role. When Leo, at his lowest possible moment, shows up at Sheen's house, Captain Queenan's house, and he says, "Go around to the back door," and do you want some, the humanity there, which of course is the perfect setup for, which is why you always say to me, Ken, why can't you be nicer? Why are you always such an asshole? And it's because when people are nice, what happens in the next scene? They get thrown out of a window.
See, 2 scenes later, just to be,
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you're a ground floor kind of guy.
Right. Yes. Let's move on to music.
Yes.
Interesting that Robbie Robertson was not part of this film, as he's usually part of Marty's films. a lot of Rolling Stones songs in this film, which is interesting.
Tiring.
Well, Marty had to leave the edit of Marty never approved the final edit of this film because he had to leave to go direct the Rolling Stones concert film Shine a Light in New York. He was cutting in L.A., had to leave, never got to approve the final cut to go film the Rolling Stones film, so it was probably easy for him to ask for some songs. So Gimme Shelter is in the film, which is interesting because it's the third time Marty's used Gimme Shelter in one of his films. FT, name the other two.
I can't.
It appears in Goodfellas and Casino.
And then like 19 other movies in this world. I mean, in my opinion, it's tired.
Yes. Turn It Loose, which is not used that much from Exile on Main Street, is used in the scene where Jack Nicholson hammers Leo's broken wrist with the boot.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, which had to hurt, and that song is played there. But it's kind of nice for Marty because again, Let It Loose is from Exile on Main Street, and when the package shows up at the house addressed that Vera Farmiga intercepts from the Leo character. And pulls out a CD, which is the recordings, which gives the whole thing away. Guess what what case the CD is in?
Oh, I didn't notice.
Exile on Main Street.
2 CD set, wasn't it? 2 LP set, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that record. It was playing in a key moment in my life. Anyhow, yeah.
Thanks for listening to They Shoot Films. If you could give us a review, hopefully a positive review where you listen to your podcast, that would really help us out. And we will see you all next time on They Shoot Films. I'm going to say goodbye to you, FT. Have a good one.
Farewell, Ken. Fare thee well.
They Shoot Films is a production of Film Symposium West, produced by Anne-Marie De Palma. Studio announcer Roy Blumenfeld.